Benny, bring me everyone.
What do you mean, everyone?
Everyone! I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass.
Barry Manilow know that you raid his wardrobe?
Let me explain something to you. I am not Mr. Lebowski. You're Mr. Lebowski. I'm the dude.
No one is to stone anyone until I blow this whistle.
You can't fight in here. This is the war room.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Hello and welcome to Zedos Gang. Episode number, we still don't have a fucking clue. So yeah, today I'm joined by Kenan Akbulut as always.
Hello listeners.
And bringing back Amrita Colliette. And welcoming back Melanie Crossey after a very long sabbatical.
A very long one, but it's back and I have wine, so we're all good.
Hey, all good. All right, so first up we have some trailers, lots of trailers this week, about 5 of them. 2067. Every time I hear that number, I'm thinking, will I be alive then? I don't know. Maybe I'll be 90.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be a pandemic movie, doesn't it, or something like that?
Yeah, it looked like stuff that's going on now, but set in the future and stuff, and some guy getting a cure. Maybe that's what's going on with the coronavirus. Are we allowed to say that? Will they ban this podcast? I don't know.
Don't mention it.
So yeah, I'm not gonna lie. It looked pretty, but I wasn't really feeling this one at all. What are you guys' thoughts?
I feel like it looked like an all right story. I was intrigued, let's put it that way. But yeah. I feel like I've seen this type of thing umpteen times. The only thing that was really intriguing about it was the fact that it seemed like it was entirely Australian. And I was like, ooh, a really Australian film. But other than that, the concept and everything seems fairly run-of-the-mill, dare I say it?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that one. It is very much definitely a film we've seen before, I'm sure of it. Like, the cast is different and they might do something, but there's nothing in the trailer that really kind of stands out and makes me go, right, I'm going to keep an eye for when this comes out.
Mm.
Yeah, I think it's a low budget production trying to go for a high budget visual, where we know people like Haas who can do it better. But it's just looking at the director. He's only done shorts previously. He's done visual effects previously, and he was involved in X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Just coming from
as a technical supervisor, whatever that is. So yes, but he's written and directed this. So it's kind of
like a visual effects background first.
Yeah,
outing.
It seems like okay. Then he's trying to write and direct his own bit. So like I say, we know like Has who's someone we know who's done it and has been really successful with it. This guy's kind of trying to probably go in the same vein. It looks quite nice, to be fair. The visuals do look quite good for something that probably doesn't have a lot of money behind it. But like Marie said, I was a little intrigued, to be fair. But it's not one that I'll rush to see. It'll be a lazy Sunday afternoon. Oh, is it on Netflix? I might watch that kind of movie.
Yeah. I mean, I think probably it was let down by its trailers. I always find when the trailer tries to be like really, really epic for something that doesn't really kind of portray that, I'm kind of like underwhelmed. Does that make sense? I don't know.
Definitely.
I just feel a little underwhelmed. I'm like, okay, I'm seeing all the bells and whistles or hearing them, but I'm not feeling it. Where is it? You know what I mean?
One of his biggest stars is Cody Smith-McPhee. He was Nightcrawler in X-Men.
Oh, okay, right.
Apocalypse and stuff like that, and where he appeared in Deadpool 2. Yeah, so that kind of timeline. So so he's like the main guy because again he's Australian. So he's kind of the main like actor in it in terms of star power.
Okay.
Yeah, I always feel like the trailer was just too long. Like if it short, kind of punchy, just kind of giving you clues as to what was going on, but it almost pretty much told you the whole thing. And then I'm like, I'm going to add to that if I actually sit down and watch the film.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And my biggest thing, I guess, with this time of what's going on in the world. I just feel like if you're going to do something like this with a smaller budget and try and launch yourself, maybe this is the right time to do it, because anyone who really wants to go to the cinema, like we were discussing, you're probably still going to go regardless. So this might be the film that would get you there. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we should do like a podcaster movie.
Yeah.
Mel, your lead.
I'll just be the extra. I'll just film myself in the cinema watching random films and get my reactions.
I'll just do random action shots. Like,
yeah. All right, from one sci-fi to a big heavy hitter, Dune. The Dune trailer has finally hit. I don't know, my initial thoughts. For me, like, okay, I've read the book, like, years and years ago. I was probably like 15, etc. And I read the first couple. I remember the David Lynch one, and I remember not liking it. Yeah. Not liking it. Mainly because I just felt it should have been like longer. They put way too much into it, 2 hours, and they cut loads of content out. A lot of stuff didn't land. It had a great cast though, Sting and Patrick Stewart, yeah. But outside of that, I just felt the original, it just never hit it for me. Although I have heard David Cronenberg did film it as a 4-hour epic, and there has been director's cuts since, but David Cronenberg doesn't like the director's cut because he had nothing to do with those cuts. And, if you're going to do Dune, you've got to do it properly, and you can't condense it into 2 hours. Denis Villeneuve, he's always been a director who I've followed kind of religiously over the past couple of years. I love Arrival. Sicario is one of my favorite films in the past 10 years. I didn't love Blade Runner 2049, but that's only because I really love the original, and I felt he did a competent job. And I think if there was any other director out there that could do a competent job, he did all right. I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it, but Blade Runner is just one of those films where I'm just like, do we really need a sequel? I mean, like they said everything they needed to say. But that aside, I felt this trailer looked really great. I love the cast. You've got Momoa, you got Thanos, what's his name? Josh Brolin. Mm-hmm. He's playing the Patrick Stewart role. You've got Oscar Isaac, as the ruler. And you've got Timothée Chalamet, who's really, really good talent. If you've seen Call Me by My Name, where he got the Oscar nomination and stuff, really, really good film with him and Armie Hammer, who's going to be in another trailer we're going to mention. I dig the cast, I dig the visuals, I dig the director. Trailer, for me as a fan, it's given me everything I want to see, and I'm like really super excited. But I do feel it's kind of catered towards the fans that are looking forward to it. I can't, if I showed this to my mother, she'd be like, what am I looking at? I'm afraid of this, because I really want Dune to succeed as a film. I want it to get an audience because I really want to see more of that world. And Denis Villeneuve has stated he wasn't going to sign on unless it was a 2-parter to adapt the first book. Yeah. And I know Warner Brothers and Legendary are thinking franchise to go with the rest of the other novels. Yeah. And
this is supposed to be a 2-parter.
Yeah. That's correct. So I don't know whether they filmed the 2 back to back or whether they're doing it one at a time, but I'm really hoping that we're at least getting the story as one, as the first book completed, because I don't want a Cronenberg mess. That's my biggest fear. I felt the TV miniseries that came out in the late 90s, early 2000s, I felt that was a really good adaptation, but it was lacking in its special effects and its scope. But I think I'm really looking forward to this personally. What did you guys think?
I feel like I've not read the book, which is shame on me after working in a bookshop for so many years. But I know a lot about it, and I think I've not experienced like the previous versions or anything like that. So for me to see this trailer with obviously the effects that look incredible, but also, like you said, the cast is something that is really the biggest draw for me. So many actors that I love are in this, and I think I think for an actor like Timothée Chalamet as well, this is a great different type of role for him. He's proved he can do like drama really well, but this is a whole different realm in the sci-fi world that I think could, you know, garner him a much greater audience as well. And then obviously people like Momoa that you expect him to be just this action Hulk, and he is all the time, but to give him a character that by the looks of it seems to have more weight as well. I don't know, this is definitely pulling me in for sure. And I'm happy to see Zendaya on the big screen again. I love her.
Yes. I'm kind of with you. I'm like, I don't know anything about Dune really, other than there was a big film, it was a big book, but I don't know anything about the story whatsoever. The cast list drew me in because I love Timothée Chalamet. I have a massive crush on Oscar Isaac, so I will literally everything. So good. So I think, to be honest with you, Sash, like even though it's the trailer doesn't tell you a huge amount about the storyline, it doesn't really explain it that much to you. But I think for a lot of people, they will be drawn in by the cast. The trailer does actually look exciting, even if you don't know what's going on. It gives you like little hints as to what's happening and something quite exciting and a kind of world that they're building. And I think Timothée Chalamet is kind of a perfect casting in this role because, as you said, he's so good with drama, and I think having something like that right, like front and center for something that is such a complicated, intricate story, I think it will hinge it in kind of a bit of reality when there's also all of this kind of crazy sci-fi-esque stuff going on. And for me, I kind of watched it and I was like, this is going to be epic. So I think film lovers in general, even if they don't really know anything about Dune, I think they will see the director, the cast, the trailer, and I think that will draw people in, get people in the cinema.
Yeah. Plus, I think we're all intrigued to know what on earth that thing at the end is if you don't know the story.
Well, the sandworm,
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm the same because I've not read the book. I've not seen the original. Well, I've not seen the 80s film or the 2000 series. So this film, it was very much gives you glimpses of who's in it to draw you into that star power. Like we've gone through the names. It's even got like Javier Bardem and Rebecca Ferguson, who I love as well. So there's a lot of star power in this movie. I think it just tried to show its scale. The fact that it is going to be sort of like an epic story. Even though they haven't filmed this one back to back, but the second one officially hasn't been greenlit. But like you said, the director said, I wouldn't have done it unless it was going to be in 2 parts. So I think it's going to be interesting to see whether Warner Brothers, because of the way the movies keep constantly being moved over in terms of their release dates, and we'll come on to that a little bit later. If it depends if they're going to pull this from December, which is due to be released. If it doesn't do the cinema numbers, will that then stop the sequel? And then will that sour that relationship between the director and Warner Brothers? There's lots of things that can kind of happen with this.
Yeah, that's right.
Which will be really interesting to see. But yeah, I mean, for me, it looks great. I think the second trailer will give you a little bit more of the story to entice those people on, to get bums on seats. It all just depends whether it's going to be able to have that cinema release and what the world looks like come December. So,
yeah.
Interestingly, as well, the idea. Oh, go on, Sash, go on.
No.
I was going to say, interestingly, the idea of like the sequel as well. I think even if the film sadly is not as good as we perceive it will be, the fact that there are so many big hitter stars in this, it will draw the audiences. Mm-hmm. So I feel like an opening weekend and hopefully a second and third weekend will probably still be quite big, as opposed to a film that maybe had an equally maybe not so good story, but no stars in it. So I do think there probably will be a sequel, regardless of how the film actually is, which is probably a sad state of affairs.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, because if you compare it to something like Tenet, it didn't have a lot of star power in the actual movie. It's all about the director. You're going to see it because you've seen those directors' other movies. So that's why I think it hasn't performed at the box office as well. Obviously, it's an earlier release, but come December, I think that is going to be an easier date. The Star Power will do that, but if it then does go onto like a video on demand or a streaming, that will do really, really well because we do that at the stars. And so, it all kind of depends on how it fits there. But hopefully it will be, because this movie is supposed to be just the first half of the book. So if you don't, it's going to kind of end on a cliffhanger with nowhere to go, and it's just going to be an unfinished story, which would be a shame.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that would be a shame. I mean, like, this is the thing with Dune. It's so big, and like to adapt it. To be honest, I'm shocked Netflix didn't try to do it as a TV show, because I think it would really work. But again, I don't know. I'm intrigued. I'm really intrigued in what they do with it. I trust Philippe Delarnoux, and I'm really worried. I just really want it to succeed because I want to see more. And I really like the cast. I think, as mentioned, Timothée Chalamet, perfect casting for the main lead. Oscar Isaac plays his father, and I think he's perfectly cast as well. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do with Dune. Next, we have Rebecca with the other part of Call Me By Your Name. Arnie Hammer is up in there. I see Kristen, what's her name? Kristen Scott Stewart?
Kristen Scott Thomas.
Thomas, there we go. She's in the movie. I haven't seen her in a film since the 90s, man.
Really?
I haven't. I know she's in like TV and a lot of other stuff, but I just can't remember seeing her in anything since the 90s. IMDb is going to tell me otherwise when
Wasn't she just in that like Army Wives film as well?
Maybe. I haven't seen it.
She was in Military Wives.
Military Wives, that was it, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've never seen it.
Darkest Hour. She was in that as well.
Oh, that's
Churchill's wife.
Yeah, correct.
And Tomb Raider.
Oh yeah, Tomb Raider. Yeah.
What, the recent one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Alicia Vikander one, yeah.
Yeah, that movie was so forgettable for me, so I probably just forgot. I was probably like, she was probably the highlight for like 5 seconds. But yeah, no, I from that trailer, I just felt it had a lot of scope. They had a budget. They had big houses. They had lots of scenery. It was no low budget affair. Not really my kind of trailer though, for selling kind of like a romance, but then I don't know what is for me. But I don't know. What did you guys think of the trailer?
It was long. It was a long trailer. I think it was like almost 3 minutes. But Netflix seemed to do that with their trailers. I think they do play long trailers. Yeah, you're right. It's a film very much set on locations. So it does look stunning. I never read the book, haven't seen the original Alfred Hitchcock original, which won Best Picture at the Oscars 41, whenever it came out. But apparently this is nothing like that one.
Wait, this is original. It's not a remake. Remember the last podcast? Remember what the director said? He said
it's not a remake.
This is not a remake.
The same book as the other one was made, but yeah. If it is a horror, it didn't delve too much into the trailer. They showed a couple of elements of supernatural, or the kind of maybe whether it's her mental state is kind of imagining those things, or whether it is actually happening. But yeah, it didn't particularly grab me. I just don't know if it was just poorly cut together. But it just seems like this woman was upset that this other woman was in this house, and that was kind of it. So she didn't like the fact that this guy had remarried, and that maybe her wife is haunting her. Who knows? But yeah, it didn't grab me.
I am slightly intrigued by this film. I think I read the book, but years ago at an age where I really probably wouldn't have cared about the outcome. It was a particular romance as a teenager. But I am intrigued. It is the most famous book that Daphne du Maurier wrote, I believe. So I think it'll get in a good audience off of that. The trailer gives a little hint of something more than just a romance, something a bit more sinister going on, but I'm holding my breath because I don't know how much into that they will go, or whether they'll just kind of stick to the, I've fallen in love with this man and he won't tell me things, and ex-wife. So I think it could go either way. I feel like it could either be a really kind of cliche, generic romance kind of thing, or it could be actually really interesting. I like the cast again.
Yeah,
really. So I have good hopes. I feel like these guys kind of choose their parts. And they tend to choose quite interesting parts, especially Army, like recently, has chosen some really interesting stuff. So hopefully it's good, but I can't really tell anything from the trailer, I think.
Yeah, I think I'm there with you, Melanie. I feel like this, I definitely do remember the book, and I should, be clear, it's not a romance. It isn't a romance. It starts as a romance, but there's definitely a lot more psychological action that's at play in the story. And I think, like Melanie said, you do get a hint of that in the trailer, but I feel like this particular trailer is setting more interest in the locations and the cast and the first part of the film that is the romance versus anything deeper into it. So maybe Netflix are going to release a further trailer, I don't know, but this particular one is kind of like an amuse-bouche of the story. But I agree. I love Armie Hammer. I absolutely love him. And I really love Lily James as well. She comes across as like, the ideal Cinderella woman, which she was obviously in the remake of Cinderella. Yeah. And she also has like a much meatier acting side to her that I think she gets overlooked for a lot because she's so prim and cute and blonde and bubbly and whatever. But actually, I mean, she's amazing, and I'm excited to see it just based on the two of them alone and the fact that I love the book. But as trailers go, maybe it could have been a bit better, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. What is next? We have Hubby Halloween. Adam Sandler is back with more Netflix shenanigans. You know what? Yeah.
All I can say is Netflix keep paying him money. People keep watching his movies. So fair play to him.
Watching movies.
America is watching his movies. I don't know if any other country is. If you're hearing this podcast all over the world, let us know which country you're from and tell us if you watch Adam Sandler movies, because I don't know. I don't know what's happening, but his movies do really, really well on Netflix. He doesn't even need the cinema releases anymore. He gets paid big bucks by Netflix, and he's got his stupid, weird voice lip thing going on again. We okay, yes, and just that really grates me, but he doesn't care anymore. He did Uncut Gems. He didn't get his nominations and awards that he wanted. He did get some, but not, the Oscar thing. And he's like, I don't care now. And so he said, after that, I'm going to try and make the worst movie ever. I don't know if it's this one or there's going to be because he does so many bad movies. I can't tell which one he's actually trying to make the worst movie. But he gets his friends. Kevin James is in it. Steve Buscemi. I don't know why they're still friends and why he keeps doing things for him. But obviously they have a relationship that goes way back. It just looks very, very stupid. And yeah, I haven't watched any of his Netflix movies, to be fair.
Look, you're in for some gems.
Yeah, Adam Sandler for me, he was gold back in the 90s. Maybe it's my age. Maybe it's just I'm getting too old for this. But but when it came to like The Waterboy and Billy Madison and Wedding Singer and all that stuff, fantastic movies. But The Wedding Singer showed he can do comedy without being that stupid, weird character. But now he just resorts to that type all the time now, it seems to me. And but yeah, it's not one for me. Again, another really long trailer, like 3 minutes. So, but whilst I was watching that trailer, I checked it twice to see how long was left because it was grating me. I couldn't even just sit back and enjoy the trailer. So yeah.
I feel like I'm lukewarm about this. I don't have as much disdain as Ken does for Adam Sandler. I think he's okay. I did like the film that he did with Jennifer Aniston recently, where they were like on some weird. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, I actually really kind of liked that one. But I agree that it's grating that he has to rely on these stupid voices that he does. But to be honest with you, as trailers go, other than the fact that it was horrendously long, because it really was, I'm just like interested in the frivolity of this, like the idea that this story is existing that's part comedy but part weird horror. I would be interested regardless of who the actor was, because I feel like this would be a fun chill out vibe type of movie that would just be a fun evening. But I don't particularly care that it's Adam Sandler at all. I don't particularly care for anyone who's in the film that's a name. I just like the idea, other than, actually no, who's Maya Rudolph. I do love her. But everyone else, yeah, indifferent to. But the story is meh. It'll be a fun watch. That's all I kind of care, really.
Well,
I have such a hatred for Adam Sandler. Just get. Do you know what gets me? What really, really annoys me, because he did this whole thing with Uncut Gems of like, oh, he can actually act really, really well, and he does these great jobs, and then like he's demanding essentially to win all of these awards for it. And my point at that point was, okay, so you very much proved that you can act really well. You just choose not to, and then one film where you're actually good, and then you think you should get all of the awards in the world, as opposed to all of the actors that have spent a lifetime doing a good job and then doing a good job and get an Oscar, and now he's throwing his toys out the pram and thinks that he can just make shit films forevermore. I just, he makes me so mad. Sorry, from an actor point of view, I just hate the guy. But
oh dear.
I think, to be honest with you, with this film, I would probably watch it if it didn't have Adam Sandler in it, because the story itself is kind of intriguing. But as you said, Ken, like that stupid voice that it's just like, oh, it's
hey, baby, you say voice. I just can't stand his voices.
You've always got to talk like this all the time.
I'm going to do my whole next podcast in this voice.
The thing I did when I was 5 that I thought was really funny, but I'm not funny anymore. And I think some of his humor, it goes from being really, really silly, and because those jokes that he uses haven't changed for so many years, it runs the gamut from being really silly to being just quite offensive at this point. Like a lot of the jokes that he has are about 15 years old, and they were vaguely funny at the time, but in the world we live in now, it's, you know, with what we know, it's just kind of offensive. And I'm like, just stop, just get off my screen, because Netflix keeps advertising it to me as well, and I'm so sad. I'm just gonna drink my wine.
So it very much is a scary movie for you. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pause a little bit. I'm just going to write this 41 minutes because Sasha's having a meltdown because I think he spilled his drink over his computer or something.
Yeah, Sasha, you okay?
Can't hear you, bro.
We can't hear you, yeah. Uh-oh.
Hello?
Yeah.
Oh, we can hear you now, yeah.
No, I just spilled my water and it's gone like everywhere. So just give me a sec. I'll be back.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I just made a note of it so Joe knows when he's.
Cool.
Oh, nice butt shot. Thanks.
Oh, and he's gone.
I just saw his face. It was just like.
Yeah, that was.
Just like.
I mean, that's a film I'd pay to see.
Yeah. I'm just gonna cut that clip and put that on YouTube. Forget the rest of the podcast. We'll just do that separately. Okay.
Amazing.
Oh, dear.
I do think you should do a podcast just like.
It's like he's trying to do like a Eric Cartman impression, or maybe Eric Cartman's an impression of him.
Mm.
Yeah, God.
Yeah. I do agree with you though, Melanie. I don't know why. Like, you can obviously act, so what are you doing?
Yeah. It's like
people pay him not to act, so why bother, right? I suppose it's just like someone told him once, oh, that's quite a funny voice, and so he just kept on doing it. Yeah, he probably was like 6 years old when they told him that, and it's just kind of stuck with him. I
watched an interview actually with him once where he was talking about why comedy is his thing, and he was saying that it was like the thing that got his family through a lot of like really difficult times, and like I think he personally loves making people laugh, but maybe he doesn't realize that he's just maybe not so funny anymore, and that his humor is quite dated. But or maybe we are just all getting old, who knows.
Just getting old and angry and bitter.
Yeah. Stupid guy making stupid voices, getting paid all this money. It's just like, I'm not bitter.
Oh.
Because Netflix paid him $275 million for 4 movies.
You know, there's why? I mean, I know Netflix have got a lot of money, but that's just a waste. Like, think what you could put that to.
Yeah.
Okay, but this is what's scary, right? So Netflix have claimed his viewers have spent 2 billion hours watching his movies.
I really want to know, it must be America, because I don't know anybody that watches Adam Sandler movies anymore. Like, a lot of people are like you, Ken, where they're like, oh, you know, I liked a lot of the old ones, like Wedding Singer and things like that, you know, we'll quite happily watch those over and over again, but I don't know, bothered to watch any of his.
Yeah, Murder Mystery. 83 million households watched Murder Mystery in its first 4 weeks.
I think I watched that, but I think it was really, that's the one with Jennifer Aniston, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I only watched it because I really like her.
Yeah.
And because he didn't seem like an idiot in the film. He just seemed like a normal married husband.
Yeah, that one did like a bit more normal comedy.
Yeah. Like crazy shit's happening around them. Not so much they are crazy.
Madness.
It is madness. That's a ludicrous amount of money that really could go towards. I mean, there are so many talented people in this world that have so many incredible stories to tell. You could fund some of that instead, Netflix, let's be honest.
See, this is the thing, like, I keep looking at things where they've been talking about these films that are, like, based on true stories or things that are, like, super interesting, and they've spent years and years and years in pre-production and never quite getting off the ground, and I'm like, how is it that these films that are actually really interesting stories just spend about 15 years in pre-production, and even then probably don't actually come out to, like, the smallest budget film ever.
Yeah.
But it's this much money just to make basically the same stuff as he's been doing. They're all, I can't even really tell the difference between his films anymore, because they all just seem like the same thing. He's got the same cast, the same storylines.
He just makes movies with his friends, doesn't he? You know.
Yeah. That's literally it. Movies with his friends, that's literally what he does, yeah. Actually, a few people, now that I think about it, really liked the Grown Ups and Grown Ups 2. And already those friends of mine.
One of his worst.
Why? Yeah, I don't get
Hated Grown Ups. Oh.
Me too. I hate that film.
And then there was Jack and Jill.
Oh, God.
I'm just trying to look at the last one I probably really liked. Bedtime Stories wasn't too bad for a family movie.
Hey, real good.
Okay, I'll tell you the last one I liked of his was Don't Mess with the Zohan. That actually, I actually found that quite funny, because it was just ridiculous but funny. But then Click, that wasn't too bad either. But then, you know, he can act. You know, Spanglish, that was pretty good.
Spanglish was good, yeah. That was actually a good film, yeah. That's probably the last film I've seen of his Spanglish. I haven't seen any
Punch Drunk Love.
Mm. Guys, do you care if I top up my drink real quick?
No, go.
Yeah, sure. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. That was a bit wet.
That's what she said.
I was complaining it's getting a bit humid in here, but hey, you know, that's...
Just decided to cool yourself down there.
Yeah, I was laughing at Mel's like meltdown, because I knew she was going to do this. I don't know why. I just knew. I was like, not a lot of people like Adam. Oh shit, Mel's going to go do that actor thing. Okay.
There's certain people that will always get me. It's usually Vin Diesel and Adam Sandler. I'm just like, why do you exist?
Oh.
You know what's upsetting about Vin Diesel? He could actually act, because if you watch a Boiler Room and Knockaround Guys and his early indie stuff before he became firmly, yeah, he just
he plays the same person in everything. I've literally never seen him do any kind of character work at all. It's just the same kind of generic.
I recommend Boiler Room and Saving Private Ryan.
Seen Boiler Room. I don't remember him really being any different. I mean, he wasn't particularly meatheady. He was a stockbroker, right?
Mm.
But
mind you, Affleck kind of steals that show, man. One scene just steals it. But no, that's the thing with Vin Diesel. He did a short film called Multifacial, I think. I'm not too sure. You can look it up on YouTube. And he directed it himself. He acts in it as well. And it's basically based on his real life. And he sent that to film festivals, and Steven Spielberg saw it and then cast him in Saving Private Ryan almost immediately. And that's how he's got the career he has. But then he basically just kept milking the Fast franchise forever and ever and ever.
He's still doing it.
Ever. And like, I don't get excited for Vin Diesel movies. I want to see him act, because I know he's tried in certain films, and he's been, even though the films haven't been all that, he's actually been good, but he doesn't push himself out of his comfort zone. So yeah. But anyway,
maybe he enjoys being typecast. I think a lot of actors enjoy it, and they just allow it to happen.
Because then they can just do the basics and still get paid. So you know, why push yourself? So
right, maybe also like they're scared as well. Like if I do something that's actually going to challenge me and I'm not so good at it, then that could be the end of my career.
Okay, so we've done Hubie. So yeah, if you just want to pick up from there.
I want my bit on Adam Sandler, man.
Right, no, that's it. So pick up from there. So
pick up from there. Okay,
Mel's finished. So
so
I'll
all
count
right,
back in for Joe. 3, 2, 1.
So I'm not gonna lie, like Adam Sandler, he's had some good performances. Spanglish, like you mentioned while this thing was offline. Sorry, I'm gonna apologize. Okay, so I spilt my drink. It went everywhere, and I had to like make sure no electricals were like fucked up and sort that. So we had to like go offline. We had a little bit of a discussion. Well, they had a bit of a discussion, and I was being totally professional. But I figured I'd mention it because while Mel was speaking, I was having like a freak out. So
the video will be there.
So the video will be there. So this is like probably like about 5-10 minutes later, maybe even 15 minutes later. So yeah, but back on Herbie,
Hubie.
The new Adam Sandler, Herbie. That's the car, isn't it?
Herbie's the car.
Yeah. So yeah, no, he's had some good performances. Like Uncut Gems, I felt he was really, really good. I liked him in One Punch Love. He should do more stuff with Wes Anderson, most definitely, because he managed to get such a stellar performance out of him over there. And what was the one? There was one where he was like a Vietnam vet, and it had Don Cheadle in. I think it was Don Cheadle. I'm not too sure. And no one went and saw it in the cinema, but it was really good. It was one of his dramatic roles. And the thing is, Adam Sandler is capable of that. And I think with him, it depends on who's directing it and whether, they're friends or whatnot. I'm not too sure, but...
Reign Over Me.
Yeah, Reign Over Me. I felt he was really good in that. So he does have range. The fact is, it's kind of like, you've got to understand, with like his Happy Madison productions, he was a stand-up comic, comedy circuit. His production partners, they're all part of the same comedy troupe. You know what I mean? All those guys that are regularly in these movies, they're all ex-stand-ups, or they've become friends over the years. And the fact is, Happy Madison Production, they're a production company. They're all of his friends. They're all of his buddies. So it's not just him as a movie star. It's him and his friends being able to make the movies that they want to make. And they don't really have a problem with making that formulaic kind of bullshit movies. Yeah, because unfortunately... people keep paying for it. People keep seeing it. And you know what? One of those people, guilty as it may be, is me. Because you know what? Like, I will admit, he has done some stellar turds. But you know what? Every now and again, there is a Zohan. And you know what? I'm always looking. I like comedy. That's probably one of my favorite genres. I like to have a laugh. And his comedy, as outdated as it is for a particular audience, some more older audiences, people like my mother. And you know what? I know when there's an Adam Sandler movie, it's a movie that I'm going to sit down with my mum, watch Netflix, and laugh my ass off with my mum. And that's, he has an audience. He has an audience. It is an older audience. I can see how it can be offensive, especially in today's climate, like Mel mentioned, most definitely. And he is outdated. He is totally outdated. But you know what? There is a supply and demand. He's supply and demand, and Netflix acknowledged that. And I didn't have a problem with this trailer. I will say it was too long and gave way too much away. I hope all the jokes wasn't in the trailer, but you know what I mean? There was probably like one thing I'd kind of secretly sniggled at, but the rest of it, I just hope there's more to it, but probably not, you know, because like you guys say, he's been shoveling out turds, but you know, I don't know. I did like the Jennifer Aniston one that Amrita mentioned. It was ridiculously funny, as in, yeah, it was ridiculous, but I like that. But you know what? If Netflix want to give me like an unlimited check so I can make little guy movies the rest of my life, you know what? Fuck it, I'll do it. You know what I mean? I would do it because it means I get to hang out with Sam Hyman all the time, film crazy shit, have a laugh with my buddies, and get paid. And if people want to hate me on that, fine, fuck you. What are you doing? and that's kind of where Adam Sandler's at. He knows he can pull out a performance. He must do, because Uncut Gems didn't come out of nowhere, you know. And those directors of Uncut Gems, they looked at the films I mentioned before, and they knew that he was more than capable. So he's just enjoying his life. He's doing what he wants to do with his buddies, and you know, if a decent role comes about, he'll do it. I looked at his comments on the Oscars, and he was joking around. He wasn't being serious. He wasn't up his own arse. He said it I'll just make a shit movie later on. He knows himself. He knows his audience. He knows what people thinks of him. And he's taking it all on the chin. Good on you, Adam. And I hope you carry on making your movies. Just pull out a good one once in a while to remind everyone that you are good, okay? Because Uncut Gems, you know, like you guys mentioned, showed that he is capable of that. You know, he was originally supposed to be the Eli Roth character in Inglourious Bastards, but he had the scheduling conflict, you know, and, you know, I could see him as the Bear Jew, to be quite honest. The difference is, if he'd been the Bear Jew, everyone would have been talking about it, because it would have been so left field from what he normally does. But, you know, he knows it, and, you know, he's getting paid millions, you know, to do what he does. I don't think Adam Sandler gives a fuck. So that's basically what I'm saying. But yeah, I'll watch this with my mother. I'll let you know, full review, whether it's a Zoolander or whether it's a Zohan or I don't know, name a shit one, Little Nicky. That was bad. Ooh. And what was the one where he was the ambulance man? That was terrible too. And Pixels. Oh god, that was horrible. But each,
other than that, he's great.
Guys,
hey, Wedding Singer, Happy Gilmore.
Yeah, like I said,
Happy Gilmore
back in the 90s, early 2000s.
What was the one? Longest Yards. Yeah, Longest Yard. I like your Longest Yard, and plus you had the Burt Reynolds cameo in that, and Joey Diaz just randomly showing up.
Big Daddy, that's one of my favorites.
Oh no, I don't know about Big Daddy.
Love Big Daddy.
I don't know. That was.
Yeah, I didn't mind Big Daddy.
It was. Yeah.
I think my favorite is probably just Happy Gilmore, just because I'm probably at that age. I think my age and my sense of humor at the time when it came out.
Oh yeah.
And it's one of those that is very, very quotable.
Oh yeah, totally.
So,
plus it has plus. Come on, man! It has Carl Weathers in it, so can't go wrong with Carl Weathers.
I have to say though, I'm excited that this film is a Halloween film. Like I'm just.
Yeah.
And not just a scary Halloween film, because that's what they always are. But it looks like it's actually a funny, like, how many costumes can we fit in this film type of film. And I'm always down for that, you know.
And it's kind of going against the grain to what the Halloween demographic is. I'm pretty sure if you did a marathon, you might need a shitty
exactly
in the middle. And if it's rubbish, you just tune over and put in one of your favourite hits. But then I would always put on Ghostbusters, but that's me. All right, so from one Halloween movie to another Halloween movie, Freaky with Vince Vaughn. It is a play of the Freaky Friday, but a Halloween take, where he's like a serial killer that switches places with like a teenager. Yeah.
Well, this one I actually enjoyed a lot more.
Yeah, because Vince Vaughn is very likable though when he's in a comedy role.
Yeah, Vince Vaughn is likable. It seems like he's very much taken Jack Black's character from Jumanji. You know, the guy, you know, in the woman in the body of a guy, and put the horror spin on it. And yeah, for this one, I actually enjoyed the trailer a lot more. Again, really long bloody trailer. But yeah, this one, it was just a bit more of a cohesive story. You can understand what was going on a lot more. Adam Sandler one is just like this guy, and suddenly he had to save everybody for some reason, and we don't really know why. There's some weird things going on. It wasn't very clear in what it was trying to be. It was trying to be funny, but trying to be scary, where it was a little bit more clear on what it's trying to do. So this one I'm actually, you know, I'll probably, this one I'll actually watch. I look forward to this one, actually. I think it'll play out quite well.
I think it's fun to see Vince Vaughn do both of the roles as well, like do a serial killer, because actually when he's done like darker roles, he's been really good in them, because you don't expect him to be as chilling as he is. But then I'm really excited to see him play like a teenage girl.
Yeah.
That's my only take on this trailer, is that I'm excited for those two.
People seem to forget before, what film is it? Oh shit. Before Old School, when he teamed up with Will Ferrell and all of those guys, he was quite a serious actor beforehand. You know, like you had that remake of Gus Van Sant. You had that remake of Hitchcock's Psycho, that Gus Van Sant did. You had Jurassic World. You had like loads of other things. Swingers, Made. 2 films which I champion because they're Jon Favreau films. And also, you know, him and Jon Favreau came up together. You know, Jon Favreau's first films that he directed had Vince Vaughn quite prominently in a more dramatic kind of role. And he's always been good. You know, he just, like Adam Sandler, he just took the comedy route all the time. But the difference is, I think, Vince Vaughn's just always been a likable movie star. So this trailer, I did get some laughs out of it. But it'll be interesting to see what they do. He's one of my favorite comedy. I love Dodgeball. That is a classic. But like you said, he's still got his acting chops. I don't know if you saw him in True Detective. Really good in that.
Phenomenal, yeah. He also like brought in Cell Block 1999, is it? It was amazing. Like he plays the dark character so well. And like Hacksaw Ridge as well. I mean, he's done some really interesting like meaty roles, and I think this is a fun experience for him to just do a bit of both. Why not?
He did Psycho as well. He did the remake.
I was really worried when this trailer first started, because I thought it was like, I think it's because I was still coming down off of the Adam Sandler one that I just watched.
I watched him in that order as well.
So when it started, it seemed a bit like, oh, is this going to be a bit of a like kind of cliched, silly kind of horror take, like kind of swapping bodies? And as soon as the teenage girl and Vince Vaughn swap bodies, I was like, oh, is he going to do that really like a 40-year-old guy's version of a teenage girl, where they're really silly and kind of over the top? And I was really worried he was going to do that. And then he started talking and he played it really straight and really well. And I was like, yes, Vince, yes. And I'm really intrigued by, so the lead girl in it who plays Millie is Catherine Newton. And she, I think, did a really, really good job from the trailer of playing those kind of the dual roles of going from the slightly kind of dorky teenage girl to something being a serial killer. I think the swap over was really good, and it did actually look fun. I think it's never going to be some massive award-winning film, but it does look really fun. I think I would quite happily go and watch this at Halloween. I'm quite looking forward to it.
We should also, like, I'm glad you mentioned her, Mel, because she was in like The Society, for anyone who's watched that on Netflix, which is also like quite an interesting show. I'm not going to say anything to give it away, but she has her dark sides for sure. And I think even Little Women as well, she was in that back in the day, like 2017. So I feel like she's got like meteor sides to her that we don't often see again. Maybe because she's absolutely gorgeous and got the big eyes and whatever. But I think this will be a fun role for her for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. She was in 3 Billboards outside Ebbing, Missouri. She was also in Blockers.
Lady Bird as well.
Yeah, Lady Bird and Pokemon. Detective Pikachu. So yeah, she's had a few varied roles, but yeah, she looks like Mel said, she's gonna have fun kind of in the dual role for this as well. So yeah, no, this one looks quite good.
I'm gonna have to look this up now you said this, because I watched 3 Billboards not too long ago, because my other half was complaining at me that I'd never seen it. He was like, you will love this film. And I watched it,
so
and
good.
Her being in it, well, how did I miss? I was so, it was just Frances McDormand. I couldn't watch anything else, I think. It's fine. Oh, okay.
That was such a good film.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah, it's been directed by Christopher Landon, who also did the Happy Death Day film. So I'm expecting a similar kind of sense of humor to the movie as those films were. So should be good because they're pretty fun movies. So yeah.
I haven't seen any of those movies.
Okay, yeah, they're
all right. They're as far as like comedy horror goes, I wouldn't say it's horror, let's be honest. But the comedy side of it is definitely a fun film to watch. It's the typical and probably perfect like teen horror film where they're going to go in a group of friends to watch it and they're going to want to laugh throughout, so it's going to be loud, but there will be moments where they're like, it's that type of film, and it works. They do it well.
Okay, so due to Tenet's lukewarm box office and Milan's flopping on Disney Plus, Warner Brothers and Sony plan to push back a lot of their big releases. Warner Brothers with Wonder Woman and Dune, and Sony with Ghostbusters Afterlife, Venom, and Morbius due to the pandemic. Thoughts on this? Wise move, or?
It is and why it is and it isn't. So it is in terms of protecting their investment in those movies, and you can understand why the fear of losing money. However, the longer these films are not in the cinema, the more the cinemas suffer, and you're going to get some more closures, maybe some independence. A lot of the chains will have to close certain sites down to reduce their
number. Which has already happened.
Yeah, which has already happened. So it has two parts to it. Now, I think the mistake, you can look at it as mistakes, but Tenet is very much a director's movie. So it's a movie person's movie. For me, there wasn't enough to drive the average person to go see it because it didn't have like the mind-bending special effects that maybe Inception showed when it came out on the trailer, that it was that kind of big scale. It shows a little bit about like the stepping back and the reversing and that. I won't go into too much detail to spoil it. But as a movie, I thought Tenet was quite average, just above average. I wasn't a huge fan of it. And the more I thought about it afterwards, they took an overcomplicated story, which is actually quite simple, but the way they delivered it in the movie, everyone's like this super nerd in it. Everyone understands everything immediately. And the movie just keeps punching along. It's very, very fast paced in a sense. And it doesn't give you enough time to really catch up, to really understand what's going. And so you're always playing catch up. There were some sound issues in terms of being able to hear things when I watched it in IMAX, in terms of the sound mix. And some people have mentioned about that. But yeah, it didn't have the box office draw. Now with Mulan, Disney's biggest mistake was the price point. That was a ridiculous price point to put it at. No, yes, you could say, oh, well, if a parent, if a parent is going to take their 2 kids to the cinema, it's going to cost them 20, 30 quid. It doesn't matter. People are at home. They're not spending that money. People are at risk of losing their jobs. Then, people are on furlough, not on furlough now. People have been made redundant. If that was free on Disney Plus, so many households would have signed up for that $5.99, even for a month. Or even a year's subscription, thinking, oh, okay, maybe, and then we'll get the extra content. Or once they got onto the app, they saw what content was on there, they would have kept the subscription going and stuff like that. Even if they did it at £10, £15. I mean, in the UK, they did it for £20, which is much more reasonable. But in the States, it was like $29.99, it's $30. They completely priced themselves out of the market on that one. So that was their biggest mistake. If they'd changed their approach to that, it would have done the numbers. Because like for me, because I'm a Disney Plus subscriber, I'll wait till December. I'm not going to pay 30 quid or 20 quid for it. I'll wait till December. I'm not that much of a rush. But if people only needed to subscribe to it, they would have smashed it out of the park. And that's it. Because if you look at the movies like Trolls and stuff like that, who went at a different price point and they did huge numbers on demand, there is a want for it, but it was this premium access thing that they did. Disney got too greedy. They were too worried about how much they might lose, as opposed to going in very low and have this as a real long sustainable thing, which could have helped their platform.
Yeah,
The
I
only
couldn't
place
agree
to see-
more.
Like the only place to see Mulan is on Disney Plus. Subscribe now. You know, Netflix don't charge you extra for anything exclusive that they're dropping. So for them to do that, huge mistake.
I think you're very right, Ken, and I think this is the reason why I haven't watched Mulan. And I was really excited about this when they first announced it. I really wanted to see it. The thing is, they're saying that they're doing it as a price point for adults that have their whole family watching it, and they're like, well, it'll be the same as the whole family going to. But quite frankly, if you look at the trailer, it wasn't really geared towards kind of really small children. It's not like a cartoon. It's not. It looks more like kind of an actiony kind of thing that slightly more adult children, for want of a better word, kind of teenagers and adults and things like that would
Probably from like 8, 9 above, something like that.
And I think like then it cuts down your audience so much, because the only people that will think it will be worth it are the full families of like 5 or 6 people. When, you know, a lot of people are people like myself who would be paying all of that money for me to see it on my own, which would not cost me that much if I went to the cinema. And I think Disney themselves kind of, for me personally, they really just pissed me off when they did. Then they kind of moved everything to their subscription service. You couldn't see anything outside of it. You have to pay the subscriptions, and then for Mulan to pay even more, because as you said, Ken, like we're living in a world where not a huge amount of people have got loads of money. A lot of people have lost their jobs. A lot of people don't have that much money in the first place. And with the amount of subscription services that are coming out now, you have to pick one of them, because nobody could afford to have all of these subscription services. And then you get things like Disney that will only ever play what they do for obvious reasons. So a lot of people tend to pick things like Amazon or Netflix or something that will play a range of different things if they're gonna pay out for it. But then obviously Disney have done this and then added an extra price tag onto Mulan. As soon as I heard they were doing that, I was like, it's gonna fail, and they're gonna blame it on something else, and it's not. It's purely that.
Yeah, I feel exactly the same as both of you. For me as well, I was so excited to see Mulan. It's always been one of my favorite Disney animated films, and I couldn't wait to see the live action one. But this is taking the piss, frankly. Like, I get the idea of, you know, a whole family taking the kids out is going to cost around the same, fine. But it's not just because Corona is a health thing that people haven't left their houses. It's also because it's impacted everyone's finances quite substantially. No one wants to pay that amount of money. That's absolutely absurd. And when they did their live streaming of Hamilton, for example, they were the only ones that did that. And I think that was quite exclusive for them to do something like that. And I loved it. I tuned in, I watched, and I loved it. This, on the other hand, yes, it's a Disney-owned product, but there is absolutely zero reason to have it charged so high. There's no excuse for it. And I feel the same. I'm a subscriber as well. I will happily wait. I'd have waited till March next year if I had to. I'm not going to pay 20 odd pounds to watch a film that I'm already paying a subscription for anyway.
Yeah.
But to touch on Tenet as well, I think it's a bit of a like travesty for me, because Sash will tell you, I'm like the biggest Christopher Nolan fan. I absolutely love his body of work. And I've seen Tenet now twice, and I still love it. I think it's a phenomenal film, but it's very, very heady and very complex to get your mind across. Not just the science of it, but actually the back and forth elements of the story and who is doing what in what order, essentially. Because some of the scenes repeat as well, but from different perspectives. So it is quite a complex film to get your head across. But I think it's a shame that the audiences weren't there, but I don't think that's any remark actually on the film itself. No. I really feel that's because of the time it's released. And it would be stupid, in my opinion, to basically stop other films from releasing now just because you don't want to take the hit. Whether you like it or not, any film that releases now is going to take the hit. No one is coming out in droves, filling out an entire screen that you can't fill out because they have to make social distancing. Yeah. You're never going to sell out a screen in this period of time. But if you want your content to come out and you want to keep your distribution screens going, because they will close down if you don't, then you have to keep the content coming. And I just think take the hit, expect that you're going to get less of an audience, and just be okay with it, because this is a global thing. You can't expect people to come out in droves. So I do think it's a shame. They should just release what they can anyway. Otherwise, worst case scenario, you stop bringing out films, and then more and more cinemas close down. And then a year from now, there's virtually nowhere to see the film when it does come out.
Yeah, and what will happen is the films will all bunch up, and again, people will be in that position where they can't afford to see 3 or 4 different films in the space of 6 weeks. So they'll have to pick and choose which films they go to watch, and have to wait for the other ones. So like where they've moved Wonder Woman now, they've moved Wonder Woman to like Christmas Day or Boxing Day. June's only out on the 18th of December. They're both Warner Brothers films. They're releasing them within 2 weeks of each other. So they're trying to dominate the Christmas market. But yeah, a lot of people won't be able to go see both, one is money, but 2 time, whatever it is that time of year. But I think the kind of movies that people will go see would have been Black Widow and Wonder Woman. People will go out to cinema to watch those movies more than any of the others. So I think it's a shame that both of those, but they may end up, they'll move Black Widow now because of what they've done with Mulan, because what they won't do is Disney won't admit their mistake, and they won't release it on the platform in any different way. And to charge £20-30 for it, they realize they're not going to make their money back for it. Now, saying that, if they did release Black Widow, that's probably a movie I would pay £20 to see, because one, I don't want it spoiled for me with spoilers and people reviewing it, this and the other, and trying to avoid it for another 6-8 months, however long it is, until I probably get around seeing it. But that's probably one I would, because I'm a comic book fan and I am a Marvel and DC fan. I would always go to IMAX in Waterloo to watch a Marvel movie, and I'd pay 25 quid for that anyway. So if it was tenner, wouldn't think twice. I would just do it. £10, no problem. I'll pay that for a movie, for a premium access. It's when it starts getting 20-30 quid, and if they're going to continuously do that, that's going to be a huge problem. So you can understand it, but it's really complex, and people haven't got the money to spend on going to see old movies at the cinema. Unless you are somebody who has like a Cineworld pass that you can go see as many as you want, then you can go spend your time doing those kind of things. But people are not going to spend 8, 12, 10, 15 pounds on a ticket for seeing a movie they've already seen at home plenty of times. It's just a really tricky period. But I think the studios will hold back, and I think the cinema businesses will suffer, and that's what will happen.
I don't even think
you have to venture further out to go see films.
I don't think I'd even pay a tenner for these exclusive streaming rights of one film, for example, because I just think like the idea of watching that film in the best environment you can is to see it in a cinema. Yeah. Anyone who loves films, chances are 99% of people who watch this podcast are people who love and really see the value in the cinema setting. And it is a complete travesty if we start losing our cinemas like left, right and center as a result of this. And I think Ken is right. We probably will. I mean, loads of them are going to suffer, and it's a shame. And it's all because they're going to pull the content. If they were still having it there, for the very fact that audiences are allowed to go to the cinema, you should be releasing films. Yeah. Just expect that you're not going to have the turnout you otherwise would. But
yeah, and then put it on video on demand within like 2 months. Have a really quick turnaround.
Exactly, because you can still. I mean, I have Virgin TV, and when Virgin release films, for example, they have a price point on the on-demand ones. Like you could do that and just have a slightly higher, maybe £1 or £2 higher price point. You're still going to get the audience there. And you would have had people still being able to go to the cinema, keeping those cinemas open. Yeah. I don't think the production studios really understand that this will impact the way people see films forevermore. And if we lose cinema, that's going to be, for me, that would be heartbreaking. I mean, well and truly. I realized during this period as well, the whole like drive-through cinema was a new experience for me. And I just found it honestly delightful to go and see a film on the big screen again when I couldn't see it otherwise on a big screen, and in a setting with loads of people there. And yes, you're socially distanced, but that is really the joy of cinema, is the idea that there's a shared feeling of what's going on. And to lose that, if you're just going to have everything at home, really, what is the point? We're just deliberately socially isolating ourselves forevermore.
Yeah,
Okay, next we have. So, James Cameron has released some pictures from behind the scenes of Avatar 4, 5, 6, and 5000 with new set pieces with underwater filming in Pandora. My first alarm bell went, James Cameron's filming underwater scenes. If you've heard about the behind the scenes shenanigans of The Abyss, you know that's a bad idea, but it looks like he's not going through those problems and they look like they're having a good time. Again, well, me and Ken have kind of discussed this about like Avatar. I know, well, I'm on the fence. I know a lot of people are interested. Mel, Amrita, are you interested more Avatar? I know Joe is, but you know, I'll save that for a conversation with Joe. But yeah, what's your feelings? Has it been too long?
I honestly can't wait. I'm gonna say I'm a major fan of Avatar. The story, yes, was basically Pocahontas 15 years later. I mean, there's nothing new there, but I loved the visuals of it, and I think if there's ever a film that's gonna sell the idea of 3D viewing to an audience, that was the film. And I do think just visually it was absolutely stunning. And I honestly can't wait to see what other visual treats they have in store. And I would assume, I would fucking hope that the story by now will have improved as well and will be something more in line with the stories we have in today's world. But yeah, I'm really excited. Honestly, can't wait.
I think it's just I've just kind of got past the point of Avatar when it came out. I really enjoyed it, and it was, as you said, the spectacle of the whole thing was amazing, and the actors are great in it. But I just don't. I think I've just lost all. It has been so long. I've just lost all kind of caring for it. I think I'm not adverse to going to watch it, but I'm not particularly excited about it either. I'm kind of like, it, you know, I'll let some other people go to watch it first. If they're like, oh my God, it's amazing, I might actually go to the cinema and watch it, but I'm just not hugely excited by it. I think it's been so long since it came out that it wasn't a strong enough story in the first place to hold me in. So it is literally just the visual aspect of it. And there's a lot of films that have some beautiful visual stuff in it. So me is how I feel.
I think it's easy though to forget though, like he created whole new technologies for Avatar. So I'm excited to see. Obviously it's been ages, but maybe he's done the same thing with this as well.
Well, yeah, the rumor is they're looking to push glassless 3D technology for Avatar. Whether that gets implemented in all theaters, that'll look to change. If that is the truth, that'll change the game, to be quite honest, because that's what he's about, changing the game. If you look at all of his movies, like he's never done something without pushing cinema and the technology forward. So I'm interested to see what he does. But in terms of like that world and that story, I feel that it should have been a movie that came out like 2 years after the first one, while the iron was hot, you know, like most franchises. I'm kind of afraid it might be a Sin City scenario where, you know, the first movie was so good and then like we waited like 10 years later and then we got bullshit and, you know, underwritten bullshit, I might add. Looked pretty, but, you know what I mean, wasn't as good. And that's my fear with Avatar. But saying that, everyone, when he was doing Terminator 2, everyone had no faith because it was the most expensive movie ever made. So no one had faith in it. And they were like, oh, but Terminator 1 was kind of like a B movie. And yeah, it did more than well. We doubt this is going to make anything. And guess what? It was a success. And then True Lies, most expensive movie ever made at the time. They were like, Arnold Schwarzenegger doing James Bond. That's never going to work. Guess what? Made all the monies. Because at the time, Arnold Schwarzenegger was kind of big at the time. So, you know, proved wrong again. Titanic. Oh, James Cameron's doing Period. Oh, no. And then it was like, oh, no, DiCaprio's in it. Oh, it's going to be well rubbish. And then you heard all the, like, stories about on set and stuff and whatnot. And the buzz was this was going to flop. Biggest movie ever made. And then Avatar you know, there was a few rumors that like, oh, it's not going as well as they think it is. We don't know what he's doing. And guess what? Fucking guy slayed it again. He's got a track record for slaying it despite people being negative. So if there's one thing I've learned, it's maybe bet on Cameron. But then you know what? I'm afraid if I do bet on Cameron, this could be his flop. So, you know, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, the jury's out. I'm on the fence like Ken is, kind of thing.
I'm not on the fence. I don't care.
Oh, you don't care? Okay, fair enough. Ken doesn't care. Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. You know, Avatar was 2009, and yes, okay, he used 3D cameras at the time. You know, and you know, they did change the way they did motion capture for that movie and stuff like that. The reason why that movie made all the money is because it was visually stunning, and it made the money because of the increased ticket prices because of 3D. Everyone went to see this movie in 3D. And when you add £3 on top of every single ticket that's sold, and people then were like, oh, this looks amazing in 3D, you have to come see it. So they take their family to see it and their parents, stuff like that. And everyone's amazed by the technology. Oh, 3D's here, it's going to be the standard. 3D's dead now, no one cares about 3D again. So it was, again, another fad. They tried it before, they did all the rides at the theme parks, they brought it back, and people lost interest again because they converted every single movie back into 3D, and it's not the same as when you're filming in 3D. So then, yes, you're right. He wants to push the technology again, wants to change the way motion captures. He wants to do, glassless, in terms of glasses, in terms of no actual physical glasses, wearing 3D and stuff like that. Technology has moved on so much since 2009. So many movies these days look good and are huge and epic. If you look at Endgame and stuff like that, that is what Avatar was. You know, you look at those two different movies now, and it's like, is there a world of difference? Yes, okay, he's created worlds and he's created this sort of like this alien culture and stuff like that. But if you're watching it on the small screen, there's not too much of a difference. You know, when you're actually watching these kind of films in scope now. And he's just waited too long. And he, you know, if he wanted to bring this world to people, he could have still done Avatar 2 like 3-4 years later, 3, 4, 5, and he could have, you know, waited a few years between each one. Now he's like doing at least two of them back to back, maybe even, you know, and then they're going to go back and do more. And it's just, if you ask anybody under the age of 30 now, what have you seen Avatar? Probably most of them won't have. Yeah, because film of the time at the time. Even though it was the #1 grossing movie for so long, I don't imagine many people have seen it. Anybody who uses TikTok has probably never seen Avatar. You know, you have to think about your audience these days. And I just think that it's going to have to be something very, very special to do that. Now, you know, people have seen stuff underwater now. They've seen Aquaman and they've seen these other things where things have been done underwater. How much better is it going to be knowing it's all just visuals? So, you know, people can do stuff on their phone these days, you know, and they can create stuff on their phone and content. So I just think that the timing for all this is wrong. And I think it will do money. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's going to be a flop, but it's not going to be $1 billion movie. I cannot see it. You know, if I'm wrong, great. But I reckon it's going to be that 200 to 300 million worldwide type of movie. I can't see it being any more than that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
I'm not discussing that. I'm not discussing that. I'm just saying, I do agree with you, Ken, that like it should have come out like 2 years after the first one. I agree with everything you say there. I will disagree with the Endgame kind of thing with like the 3D and Endgame because it had, you know.
No, I'm not talking about 3D. I'm just talking about special effects in general.
Oh, effects in general. Oh, okay, yeah. In that case, yeah, you're kind of right.
Yeah, you know, you didn't go see those films for the 3D aspect, and but what I think the most frustrating thing for me is because Cameron is such a great filmmaker, because he spent the last 10 years of his life trying to do this, we've missed out on so much other stuff that he could have brought us, so many other stories, so many films, and that's what I resent of him as a filmmaker, that you've been selfish in a way, you know? It's like, yes, I understand you have your craft and you have this thing that you want to do, but you could have done so much more. And if these aren't what you've been hoping or promising us, it's going to be a big letdown. And I would have rather seen other stuff from him than more Avatar.
I think that's one of the biggest things, though, because it has been so long. It's such a build-up, and it is something that he has been working on for so many years. It kind of gets to a point where you're like, if this isn't the most amazing thing ever, what has he been spending 10 years doing? So he up for full unless it is the most amazing film.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I was really excited about him doing Battle Angel Alita. Sorry, Alita Battle Angel. So I'm used to the anime version of it, so I'm going to continue calling it by its actual name, because to revert back to what the actual film name is, I just get confused. So, but yeah, Battle Angel Alita. I really liked the film. I felt Robert Rodriguez did a fantastic job with that film, and more importantly, emulating James Cameron's kind of visual style, which is completely different to Rodriguez's direction in his movies. And apart from me, I remember like years and years ago, before he said he was going to do Avatar, he did say it's either going to be Battle Angel or Avatar. And for me, he'd been working on Battle Angel for like before Titanic, around Terminator 2 time. And I was just like, Battle Angel, Battle Angel, Battle Angel. And then it just never happened. And then we got Battle Angel, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a fantastic movie. But a part of me does kind of think, you know, if he'd done Battle Angel instead of Avatar, I would have been more excited, even with the 10-year gap, because I'm a Battle Angel fan and I've read all the books and stuff like that. And it's already got a core fan base that are hungry for more. And I would have preferred that, you know, but, you know, I get it. He's a creator. He wants to create his own thing. And technically he wanted to create his own Star Wars, which is basically what Avatar kind of is, because it's a brand new world and you're dealing with different planets and that kind of stuff. And I get the attraction there. So I get the reason why he's being selfish, etc., because it's no different to what George Lucas did with Star Wars. George Lucas did Star Wars, didn't direct anything for 20 years. Yeah, he produced Indiana Jones and Willow and loads of other stuff that we've all grown up on, but he never directed anything, you know. And then he came back with the prequels. And
he didn't direct the originals.
No, he directed the original. He didn't direct Empire and Jedi.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, you know, he handed the reins over, and, you know, and there were universes that have continued on. And that's the difference between a franchise and characters. Can you tell me any of the characters' names from Avatar?
Mr. Sully. Yeah, Jake Sully. There we go. I knew it was Sully something.
Yeah. And Sam Worthington hasn't been the actor everyone thought he might turn into. So again, it doesn't have the star power.
Yeah.
So you know, it's got Sigourney Weaver, it's got Sunlander and stuff like that, but it doesn't have that huge name that's going to bring in that blockbuster franchise either. You know, we thought he was going to kick off because he started in Terminator Salvation, and you know, he's going to be this big thing. But yeah, but just look at Cameron. So basically, if you take out the documentaries. He's done Avatar in 2009, and then Titanic in, Avatar in 2009, and then Titanic in 97.
Yeah.
In terms of direction, that's it. You know, so he made and it's just like, because he got so obsessed with the underwater world, and he did all the documentaries of going down to the Titanic and becoming the person who like dove the deepest in a submarine and stuff like that. He totally took a break from filmmaking, and fair enough, you know, but you know, he has got a few more producing things and all that kind of stuff, but yeah, it just seems like not a waste of talent, but in one sense it is. It's just because it's like, you've given us so many great movies, just could have given us a few more.
But then saying that, it depends where people are with their actual lives. You know?
Yeah,
exactly. That's what I'm saying.
I mean,
so, you know,
like,
he was more than entitled to take a break and all that kind of stuff, but to invest a whole 10 years into a franchise, and you know,
that did have a beginning, middle, and end as well. Like, after that movie, I didn't see a number 2 on it.
But that's it, exactly. It's not like he left on a cliffhanger thing. Oh, I can't wait to see more of this. It's like, that's cool for what it was.
Yeah.
So you're having to start a new storyline and be invested in all these characters and really care about them. And I'm not going to care about characters I haven't seen for 12 years.
I think that's definitely a good point. I didn't care enough
about them in the first instance. It was a movie experience. I didn't care necessarily for the characters. It was the experience.
I think that's a good point, that the film was a standalone, like nicely tied up film on its own. Yeah. And I agree with that. I don't know where the next one's going to go, or the next few are going to go, but I think this is going to sound ridiculous and very simplistic, but I'm going to say it regardless. The thing that really made Avatar so groundbreaking for me, other than the technology behind the visuals, was actually the color, like the palette of the film.
Yeah.
I absolutely love the world of Pandora that he created. And yes, I don't know where the hell the story is going to go now, but I'm looking forward to seeing colors as rich as that again, and as like vibrantly presented. And you can tell that every frame of that film, real or completely digitalized, was a labor of love for him. Yeah. And as much as I agree that, yeah, he should have dedicated time to doing other things in between, if it causes something as beautiful as that to come out of it, I'm sure he's happy with that. And to be honest, I'm happy with it. So I'm still excited. I don't know where it's going to go, but I guess can't wait to see what else.
And I guess I'm just angry at him because he keeps lying to us about these Terminator sequels. He's like, Terminator Genesis, this is the sequel you're always meant to get. Terminator Dark Fate, this is the sequel you're always meant to get. No, fuck off. No, it just annoys me.
Well,
sorry.
There was no plan. I mean, like, you know, with Terminator, you got to understand, like, with Terminator 2, he didn't intend to make a Terminator 2. They rang him up and was like, would you want to do a Terminator 2? Because we're going to do one regardless. And then he basically rang up Linda Hamilton and said, okay, they want to do a Terminator 2. I'll do it with you. And she was like, yeah, just make her crazy, because I got rejected because they said I wasn't crazy enough to play a psychopath or a mental patient in a movie she auditioned for. And that's how we got Sarah Connor. So he wrote them, you know, as they came along. There was no through line. There was no plans for a third one. It's just always been a moneymaker. You know what I mean? Or not, as the case may be, because let's face it, there hasn't been a successful Terminator movie since Terminator 2. I don't count T3, that was a piece of shit, and everything since has just been dog shit. You know, and even if you remove Arnold, it's not Terminator without Arnold, because they proved it with fucking Salvation, you know? And I just think the story's done, they've done it. You can't top T2, so don't bother, just leave it alone, you know? And yeah, I think I was going to go on a rant with something else, but I'm going to leave it. I've gone off point. And Avatar, until Joe starts talking about it again, there'll be arguments, because me and Joe get into epic arguments on this podcast, as Joe has as Mel has witnessed firsthand. So
on, guys, does anyone mind if we take like a 5-minute break? Because I really need a wee.
No,
yeah,
it's
sure.
fine.
Go for it. Yeah. Okay, pause.
Guys, random thoughts. My brother's asked me to check with you what your thoughts are on Mandy, Hobo with a Shotgun.
Mandy what?
The Mandy film, Mandy, and Hobo with a Shotgun.
Oh, Mandy is in Nick Cage?
Yeah.
That is some trippy ass film. But you know what? I'm not going to lie. I didn't dig it. I was kind of bored. Yeah. I was kind of bored. And like, everyone's like, oh, it's an amazing film. I was like, it's got amazing visuals. Don't get me wrong. And I get why critics like it, but it just wasn't for me.
Yeah, I think I felt that as well.
Yeah. You know, and often when like I talk to people about it, they're always on the other opposite side of the spectrum, and they're like, oh my God, it's amazing. But you know what? I got to say this, Nicolas Cage has been doing nothing but gold lately. I just think he's just been doing like these low-key movies where he's just doing what he wants, and he's coming out with some good gems, you know, because he's getting critical acclaim for them. And also, you know,
what about his Color into the, what was it, Color Out of Space?
I haven't seen that. That's the same people by Mandy though, isn't it?
I thought so, because I really want to see that. But then in the podcast group on WhatsApp,
yeah,
who was it who commented saying it was like a complete pile of garbage?
I don't know, man, but I'm assuming it's kind of similar in vein of Mandy. So just prepare yourself when you're going to go watch it. But if you want something on the lighter side of the spectrum, and it's the film that nobody's seen despite me pimping it on this podcast heavily, everyone should check out, let me just find it on IMDb.
Are you talking about the one where he tries to go and hunt
Osama bin Laden?
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
I've still not seen it.
Oh,
and
man.
I cannot wait because I really want to watch it.
It's so good. It's so
amazing.
good.
I will watch anything with Nick Cage. So I just think he's one of the funniest people I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Actually really good at acting when he wants to be as well. But for all of his facial expressions, I will watch anything he puts out ever.
Ken, have you seen Army of One?
I don't think so.
That's the Bin Laden thing.
No.
Okay, dude, trust me, just watch it.
Yeah.
It's the kind of film me, you, and Chris and Richard would watch and cry and laugh at.
Right,
Trust me.
okay.
You know, Amrita, have you seen the film The Night Before? Seth Rogen.
No, I don't think I have.
Oh, god damn it.
What's the storyline, or who else is in it?
Anthony Mackie and
I love Anthony Mackie.
and what's his face? Looper guy.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yep, him.
I love Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah, check it out. It's hilarious.
Oh yeah, where they're three friends on
Yeah.
Christmas Eve or something, right?
That's the one.
Or New Year's Eve, one of the two. Yeah,
Christmas
I have
Eve,
seen
yeah.
that. That's a great film.
Oh man, see, tell Ken because he still hasn't seen it.
Yeah, Ken, you need to watch that. That's a good
You need
film.
to watch that. Me, you, Chris, and Rich should watch that movie. Seriously, it's too good, man. That's a movie night. I keep saying this to these guys, but for some reason they don't want to watch it, and it upsets me.
I'll wait till Christmas. It's a Christmas movie.
There we go.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt, though, he's another actor that is just like wildly underrated in my mind.
Yeah.
Wildly. I love all of his like hit record Joe stuff as well that he does.
Yeah, same.
And his tiny books of tiny stories. I have my little collection of them. But I just think he's amazing. He's a real like multifaceted talent, and I don't think we see enough of him, frankly.
I wonder if he wasn't in Knives Out, was he?
No, he wasn't.
Or was he?
No, he wasn't. Definitely not.
Hang on, I'm IMDbing it because you know what? Like he's in Star Wars: The Last Jedi, but he's voicing a character. Because the thing is, him and Rian Johnson are really good friends.
Oh wow, okay.
And Rian Johnson always puts him in all of his movies, and if he's not in it, he'll do it as a voiceover, like a voice on the radio or something. Just checking. Yeah, he is in Knives Out, and I'm right. He is a voice.
What voice is he in? Or who
Detective Hard Rock, whoever that is, and he's the voice of that character.
Oh.
Yeah, because he does a lot of voiceovers. So if you check any Rian Johnson film, he's in it because they both did. They both did his first film, Brick. Rian Johnson did a film called Brick, which stars Joseph Gordon-Levitt. And since Brick, everything he's been in or directed, he always puts a cameo, whether it's a voice or whether it's, yeah.
Sorry guys, I'm trying to reposition my lighting because it's gone like whack while I'm in here.
Yeah.
No, that's not working. Okay.
This is, by the way, because it's so early, this is the first podcast you can actually see my face.
No, I'm gonna invest in one of those lights. You know, those ring lights for behind the monitor.
Yeah, that'll do.
We good to go?
Yeah, thank you guys.
No problem. Alrighty then.
What's next, Sasha?
Next up, we have Scream 5. Neve Campbell has officially returned. She's signed on. She's back. Sydney, what's her surname? Sydney
Prescott.
Sydney
Prescott. There we go. Sydney Prescott is back. Everyone's back from the original cast. David Arquette, Monica from Friends. I'm in.
Oh,
Monica from Friends.
I knew it was Courtney Cox. I just figured I'd say that. What was I going to say? With well, you know what? Yeah, I don't care. Like I like all the Screams, even though I knew 4 was a little bit lackluster. I still enjoyed it. My only concern with this one is Kevin Williamson isn't back to write it, and more importantly, Wes Craven isn't back to direct it. But even still, like I hope they've got a good premise because I felt that like. Williamson always had like a point, like the last one, its point was like reboots, like the second one was like sequels, and you know what I mean? The third one was like trilogies. I don't know what they could do with like the fifth one, but there was always like a reason to go back to the well and comment on like, you know, the culture at the time or like, you know, what's going on in film at the time, because, you know, it was very much that kind of film for horror movies. you know, I'm just concerned because you don't have the original creator writing it and Wes Craven as well directing it. I think that's a big, massive blow. And is this just a case of milking a dead horse? I didn't watch the series, so I don't know whether that's canon or whether that connects or whatnot. But I did enjoy the movies, you know what I mean? But realistically, I think the first two are the two standout of the series, and the other two were, you know, okay. But what were you guys' thoughts?
I think you have the same kind of fears as a lot of people with, like, you know, Wes Craven being missing and Kevin Williamson, but this was actually something that Neve Campbell talked about herself, of like she didn't particularly want to sign on for the fifth one, knowing that obviously Wes Craven was not going to be there, but she said herself that she's spoken to the directors, there's two of them now, I believe, and like they talked about their vision for it and everything, and that's what convinced her to come back to it, because initially she wasn't going to. So I think when you've got people like that are kind of the OG Scream people that, you know, are taking that moment of going, I mean, is this worth coming back? And then having the directors talk to them and go, oh, okay, so they do actually have a genuinely good idea. That gives me a bit of hope. So I'm thinking, hopefully it'll be quite a good one. I still think the first one is absolutely the very best and cannot be beaten, but you know, they are fun films. They're kind of silly, horror-y things with a few good scares in there. So I'd be happy to watch that. I love that cast. They work really well together. I'm happy.
Yeah, same. Yeah, love the first one. Fantastic at the time. Set up Halloween costumes to come for years. Yeah, like you say, it's kind of same little concerns. I'm wondering how much Neve Campbell's going to be in it. It seemed like the movie was going ahead without her, and they've tried to get her on board. Maybe she might have a Drew Barrymore bit where she's the one who's killed right at the beginning, and then they kind of move on. So, you know, you have to wait and see what that is. But yeah, Courtney Cox and David Arquette, they signed up. It's got Jack Quaid as well from The Boys. I really enjoy him. I think he's great. So, yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. We spoke about it when it was first announced as Scream 5, and I came up with an idea of the film, and I actually was quite proud of myself, and now I can't remember what it was. So I'm going to have to go back to our other podcast to try and find out what I came up with. But yeah, I think it might have been a documentary series about the Scream, because obviously you had the real life events, and then you had the book that was written about it, and then it went on to having the movie made about it. And I think this was like a documentary on the making of the movie or something like that, and then the real life events behind it, and then things happening because of that. Or that could be a different idea. But yeah, no, I think it'll still be fun. Yes, it's probably milking a dead horse, but it's one of those franchises that, because it never really took itself that seriously, and it was a little bit OTT anyway, you kind of forgive it for that. And so yeah, you know, just bring it on, really.
I think, yeah, I agree with that totally, Ken. I think people who watch the Scream films love the kind of the fun element of it, and I think most audiences that were fans of the original, certainly, yeah, 1 and 2 for sure, I think they'll enjoy just going along on the ride again. And I love Neve Campbell personally. I don't know, I feel like I've not seen her in anything in the longest time. So I'm really excited to see her do this again. Like you said, Ken, I don't know what role she's going to play, but presumably if she's agreed to come back, despite the fact that Wes Craven isn't involved, then it's probably because she feels her character's going in a direction that she wants to be in. So I'm excited to see this, and I think I love David Arquette and Courtney Cox as well, despite the fact that they're not together anymore. They actually make a good couple, the two of them together in the story. But I think if we go by like what happened with Halloween, when that came out, what was it now, 2 years ago, when that last installment came out, I actually did enjoy that, and I like the way that Jamie Lee Curtis, like her character was in a different part of her life at that period as well. Like they've moved along with her in age as well. And I'm hoping that whatever happens with Scream, that it will be a similar thing. It won't just be trying to rehash what they've already done with Neve Campbell's character. So yeah, I have questions, but I'm excited. I will definitely see it regardless.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while. Scream 4 was like 2011. Neve Campbell, she was in House of Cards. She was really good at that.
Never
Yeah.
watched that. Okay.
And she was in Skyscraper with Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
True.
It's probably the last thing I probably saw her in.
Okay, so next up we have Fast and Furious in space. Okay, the real reason for the article was who's the girl that plays Letty that's in
Rodriguez.
Michelle Rodriguez.
Michelle Rodriguez. She was in an interview. They've hired a female writer for the Fast and Furious 10, parts 1 and parts 2. Parts 1 and parts 2. They're really milking it, man. Like, may as well just call them 11, man. But, you know, it's apparently this is the finale, and like Universal were like, no, is it Universal or is it Paramount?
Universal.
Universal. They were like, what? We need more. 2 parts. Yeah, they've hired a female writer, and that was the main core of the article there. But she did mention they're going to space, and the first thing I'm saying is like, look, I know, you know what? I liked 7. I felt it should have ended at 7. I became a Fast and Furious fan after watching Fast 5, after like not really watching the series, because you understand the first one I watched it and I was like, this is just a remake of one of my favorite films ever, Point Break. Fuck this movie. And that was like literally my thing. Because if you look at that film, yeah, point for point, it's like he's a cop that goes undercover with this gang and, you know what I mean, tries to bring them down, but he falls in love and like blah, blah, blah. Cool. And, you know, there's no Keanu Reeves, who's infinitely better than all of the Fast and Furious. And fucking, there's no Patrick Swayze. And I watched that first film. I was like, fuck that film. And then, you know, I was working at Westfields and Fast 5 was out and like everyone was on the buzz for Fast 5. And I watched Fast 5 with a blank mind and I enjoyed it. I was like, okay, that's kind of fun. And then it was shown on Sky Movies, every one of them. And I decided, you know what, I'll get on board. Let's see what the kids are getting into now. And I watched it. I enjoyed it. And then I enjoyed it. I enjoyed 6. And then I saw 7 and I was like, that was a good kind of ending, really. I felt 7 really. I think the peak was 7, and then I saw 8, and I just thought it was shit. I just thought it was like there's over the top, and it's always been renowned for being over the top and shit. But with the fucking nuclear submarine in fucking Antarctica and fucking shit that went on there, I was like, I'm out. I just can't. I like my action grounded. I love grounded action movies with real stunts, you know, like give or take what you say about Tom Cruise and whatnot. I like Tom Cruise movies because I know the guy's doing shit for real. And The Last Mission Impossible was an example of action filmmaking at its finest because it just felt real. And Fast and Furious in space, there's no reason why they'd go to space. Okay, there's no reason. I'm pretty sure it'll be firmly. Or like fucking... He's a fucking mechanic. He's a fucking mechanic. He fixes cars. Why is he a spy? It makes no fucking sense. Leave it the fuck alone, man. Like even me, like, okay, I got it. I got it with 5. They do heists. They're a criminal gang. That makes sense. Then fucking Kurt Russell comes out of nowhere and goes, hey, you're spies now. It's like, what? And then it's just kind of lost me. Space, all right, cool.
And then they drag Helen Mirren into this. It's like, don't stop, just stop it.
Look, you know what? When they did the Helen Mirren thing, it's like clearly someone watched EastEnders and was like, they're the Mitchell brothers, and she's Peggy Mitchell, and it's like, no, just leave it alone. Leave it the fuck alone. But yeah, I think we're going to get Fast and Furious films until it's rebranded as the Slow and the Grumpy. So there we go.
I'm not fussed about this. I mean, the last 3 maybe kind of blend into each other. I know set pieces from each of them. I know that there was the stupid submarine thing. And yeah, I think, was it Fast 7 where Paul Walker died during filming?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, That should have been the send-off. That, you know, I cried at
It
it.
it had the perfect ending, man. It had the perfect ending. They did it well. The only thing I have a problem with that movie is when Paul Walker beat the fuck out of Tony Jaa.
Yeah.
And as a martial arts fan, I'm like, there's no fucking way in any fucking universe that would fucking happen. What? Why, Tony? Why? Why? That's like having Bruce Lee in a movie and have him get whooped by, I don't know, just anyone. It just, oh man, the Kung Fu fan in me just went livid. And then the worst thing is, it was a CGI Paul Walker as well. I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
But
Was that the one where they drove the car across from one building to the other? Like skyscraper to skyscraper as well.
Oh God, yes.
Yeah, that was
too much. But that one had Ronda Rousey in it, and she was quite cool in that. But I think that was the one that she was in. I forget. Again, they
you're right.
blend into each other. So yeah, these will keep going. They've done that big ride at Universal, but you know, people keep going to see these movies, and you know, they make a huge amount of money. So this will be a film that comes out for like next summer, I'd imagine, you know, to bring people back in, and that will be a film that American audiences will go to see.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know,
here's the deal though. I feel like I'm going to be quite controversial here. I agree with absolutely everything Sacha said. I think there is no need for this, let's be honest. But I do also really enjoy the films, and I feel like I'll go see this because I do love. The thing that I think sells these films, yes, the action's over the top, and yes, you kind of have to suspend your, belief in reality. Let's be honest. But I think the family aspect and the cast and the fact that they are actually in real life really good friends, and especially since Paul Walker's death, they have like this really tight bond that I think people really enjoy seeing what they do with these films because they are really good in these roles. And the fast cars, if you love fast cars and you love the heist kind of storylines, this is always going to work. Like it's never going to be a formula that you're sick of because they're always going to push it more and more and more each time.
Yeah.
So I will still watch this, but I agree that there isn't a need for it. Definitely.
Yeah, I think the other thing is like Paul Walker and Vin Diesel both said when Paul Walker was alive that they had 10 in mind. You know what I mean? And that it was always going to end at 10. But I'm like, 10 part 1 and 10 part 2? Come on, man. Like
that's 11.
that's 11. You're not fooling anyone with that. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck is this? Final Fantasy on PlayStation 4 where they did a part 1 and part 2? Get the fuck out, man.
I feel like it's going to be one of those things as well, you know, like the whole kind of Fast and Furious in space. Is it going to be like Armageddon, where it's somehow easier to teach a mechanic how to go to space than it is to teach astronauts?
You just nailed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely freaking nailed it. And then what they'll have to do is that won't work. And so what will happen is they'll have to steer the asteroid off course. So they'll have to race around the asteroid to generate enough movement to carry it off its course from Earth. Yeah.
My brother, who's like around in the background here, he just said something interesting that actually they did say 10 for Paul Walker and Vin Diesel, but actually now it's Jason Statham. It's going to be a whole nother 10. He needs
I got problems with Jason Statham in those films, because like justice for Hans, man. When are we gonna get justice? And I saw that trailer for 9. They bring Hans back. He died, man. He got blown the fuck up, man. Where the fuck has he been? You know what? I am gonna see 9 because I want to see what ridiculous fucking story they got to say for bringing back Hans back. But like, yeah, I didn't like that fucking Jason Statham was at the family table. What the fuck? Get the fuck out, Jason Statham. You killed our boy Hans. Fuck off. I'm done with that franchise. Should have ended at 7, man.
Oh.
Yeah,
7 really was like the last.
Well, but it had the perfect ending, right?
Yeah,
it had the perfect ending, man. And it was like emotional and shit. I was like, you know what? If that's how it's going to go down, that's how it's going to go down. But like, 8 was so shit.
I reckon Vin Diesel came back to do it because The Rock got his spin-off.
You reckon? Yeah. No. Vin Diesel was always going to do it, though. He was always going to do it.
Because you know how emotional he was after doing 7. I'm not sure that they were necessarily always thinking that they would come back. I think he probably questioned it, but then because of the popularity of The Rock and he was getting his spin-off, he's like, no, I'm not letting him have this franchise. And I think that probably paid it because they hate each other with a passion.
Yeah.
Why The Rock isn't going to be in these ones and why he is having spin-offs. But anyway.
I didn't know they hated each other. That's interesting.
Oh yeah, they fell out during Fast 7 or
Six,
during Fast 7 or 6.
7.
Yeah, 6 or 7. So yeah. All right. So moving on. Okay, Luke. Okay, I'm going to butcher his name now. Okay, so Melanie, can you pronounce it? Because I know you cringe every time I butcher shit.
It's Luca Guadagnino.
Guadagnino.
No, but just skip over it.
Okay, cool. Okay, he wants to do. He's up for Scarface, the Scarface remake now. This film has been passed over so many times, but they've got. You know what? I like him as a director. He's done some really good stuff, and yeah, he wants his version to be R-rated. So, do we need an R-rated Scarfaces? I'm saying yeah, and. How do we feel about the choice of director?
I am super excited about this whole thing. So when they first announced that they wanted to do a Scarface remake, I was really just like, oh, come on. Like the one that we remember is a remake in itself. And I was like, do we need another one? But I've read some interviews with Luca talking about kind of his vision for it and what he wants to do with it. And it actually seems super interesting. He's pointed out that in each iteration, they've had kind of a modern version of Scarface. So it has been updated for each one. It was very much of its time. And that's what he wants to do with this. He doesn't want to do kind of the old school kind of Al Pacino Scarface. It's within the time that it's going to be made now. And it's more kind of a play on that kind of archetypal character of what creates that kind of evil in the world that we live in at this point, which I think actually sounds kind of the most interesting part of Scarface. I think it needs to be R-rated because I can't imagine how you do a film like that isn't. I think you turn it down and I think you lose some of the kind of the horror of it, if you see what I mean. The whole point in Scarface is that he comes from being kind of just a bit of a petty criminal to being, he gets that little bit of power and he just goes completely off the rails. Luca is a fantastic director. Everything that I've watched that he's done is really good. He does have a bit of a history of being able to do dark stuff. I always remember things like Call Me By Your Name, which kind of, if you look at something like that, you're like, is he going to be able to make a Scarface? But then he's also done things like Suspiria, most recently, which was, kind of darker and a bit more... yes, exactly. So I think he's the right person. He's a very cerebral director as well, and I think he can really pick out the important parts of a character and make it super interesting and make it of its time. I think that's why he was so good with Call Me By Your Name, because he's good with character. He's good at picking out the important stuff. So I've gone from being really like, I don't want a Scarface remake to I want this Scarface remake. I'm excited.
I agree with you. I mean, like I've said on this podcast multiple times, because they've been talking about it for years and they've had various different directors attached, and no one's really like made me go, yeah, okay, he'd be interesting. And he, I liked Call Me By Your Name. I like Suspiria. From those two films, I can totally see a modern update with him. If he's pushing for an R, that would be great, because I'm not too sure what the studio's saying and what they want, but it wouldn't surprise me in the world today, if you're trying to get butts on seats. But Scarface as an IP, it has to be R. I know the original wasn't, but, the themes and where you could go with it, to push the story or any story with that, with that in that nature, you need to go dark. And I think he makes me excited to see it and makes me actually want to watch it. How do you feel about it, Ken?
Yeah, this has been like in legal development hell for like 10 years or something like that. It's been passed around, different producers. It's now going to be a Coen Brothers script. I'm I'm looking forward to this. I don't have a problem with the remake at all. You know, it's an old film. You know, if you think about it, when because a lot of people don't look at obviously the Al Pacino Scarface as a remake because they're not very much aware of the other one. But that was like 1983. That was like 2 years after I was born. It's an old film. So it's fine for a remake, and you know it'll be interesting to see what they take on it in terms of what the product is. It going to be drugs? Is it going to be, you know, what is going to be the core part of the movie that it's going to be surrounding? Because basically it's about a guy trying to being a self-made guy, right, and just like rising ranks and stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting what kind of tone they bring to it. But yeah, no, I'll go see this. It's an exciting director, and just hopefully this can get off the ground now and just start moving forward. So yeah.
I think this is probably the one on today's topics that I probably know the least about. Obviously I know the Al Pacino version, but I don't know too much about the kind of theme or tone that Luca's trying to go with his version. But I think part of me is kind of torn between why do we need a remake? Why can't Hollywood come up with new stories? But the other part of me is quite excited based on the other films that Guadagnino, is that right?
Yes, got it.
Guadagnino. Okay, what other films that he's done? I love Call Me By Your Name. I absolutely love it. And Suspiria, as fucking weird as that film was, it was for horror, it was fantastic. Like, it was so creepy and unnerving. And I agree with Melanie that he's very cerebral in his approach to things. And with that in mind, to take a character like this, I think it is going to work in a very interesting way. It's not just going to be about the big hitting R-rated, you know, the commodity value of that. It's actually going to be something darker that has more meat to the character. And I think for that, I'd still be interested and I'd still watch it, despite the fact that I don't understand why it has to be remade at all.
Yeah.
Okay. Borat 2 has been secretly filming. Sacha Baron Cohen announced the movie is complete, and he's already had secret screenings proving it actually exists. I didn't even know he was making a Borat 2, but you know what? I think it's going to be, you know what? I'm there. I'm actually fucking there, because I think that character in today's climate will ruffle a lot of feathers, and I just think it's good. You know what? I was watching another podcast, and they were like, isn't the cat out the bag now? And it's like, well, here's the thing, all right? We knew him from Ali G well before the Americans did, and we know what his shtick is, and you know what? I love him. I just love him. And I don't know how he's going to top Borat 2, but then I didn't think that Borat would work as a movie, and it totally did. And I'm in, because I think in today's climate, we're going to get some gold. So yeah, that's just my 2 cents. How do you guys feel about a sequel?
I am right there with you, Sacha. I cannot wait to see this, because I just think in today's climate, the world needs a Sacha Baron Cohen. He is a phenomenal person that has interests that are so interesting to me. And I think we need someone that isn't afraid to poke fun at himself or to poke fun at anyone else, to highlight the stupidity of today's world. Because, I mean, when we're, you know, most of the free world, as it were, is led by fucking Donald Trump, we need characters like Borat who can highlight their stupidity. So I cannot wait to see what else he does with this character. That's it.
I am intrigued, to be honest with you. Kind of Sacha Baron Cohen and Borat and all of that sort of stuff very much passed me by. It was not really my sort of sense of humor when it was kind of around, and I never really bothered with it that much. But I do agree with you guys. I think in the time that we're living in right now, with everything that is going on, A, we need a laugh, and B, we need somebody that can kind of take those very serious elements and make them and kind of critique them in a fun way, and just kind of point out because there's so much in the world now that it would be so much funnier if it wasn't real. So I'm kind of like, I need somebody to be funny in this situation and point out the absolute ridiculousness that we are living in. So yeah, I'm actually quite looking forward to this. I never really watched it before, but I might get into it now.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Sacha Baron Cohen. I think he's pretty much like a genius when it comes to like his art. He pretty much can just do whatever he wants. There's something I've been meaning to watch, which is one of his Netflix shows. It's a drama. I'm trying to think what it is. The Spy or something like that. Yeah, so that's like a TV miniseries, and that's had great reviews. I just haven't got around to seeing it, but yeah, he's popped up in a few films like randomly. He was in sort of like Alice Through the Looking Glass, and there was The Brothers Grimsby, which I did not enjoy. I thought that was a big misstep. He was in Les Mis. Obviously, he's done voice acting. The Dictator, which was okay. But yeah, and then there was Bruno. So he's always coming up with these different characters. I thought he was great in Sweeney Todd. And Talladega Nights.
Oh man, he was hilarious.
He was brilliant in that. But yeah, for me, it's about Ali G and Borat. They're the two of my character in terms of his character creations. They're the ones I've enjoyed the most, and it'll be interesting to see what he's got away with this time, because the first time that he did this character, it was new to everybody. They didn't really understand it. He got away with a lot. People are going to be a lot more aware of him now, even from a social media point of view and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see what he's done to get into these situations where he is interviewing people or whatever it is. So, and the fact that it's been filmed, it'd be interesting to see when he filmed it. Is it going to cover any of the lockdown and stuff like that? Was it all filmed before then? So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But I'm looking forward to this.
I'm just shocked that nobody realised that he was filming it. He's just been doing it.
It's because it's to keep people, because if you announce a film like this, then everyone's going to be on their toes in terms of, okay, you got to watch out for this guy. So he has to do it guerrilla style, has to go like kind of thing. And that is the best way to do it. There's large parts of America who don't even know where America is on the map. So I'm sure he's been able to get, some decent interviews and stuff.
I always laugh at that Ali G one where he basically interviews Donald Trump on his business idea.
Yes, exactly.
What was it? It was an ice cream that was like, that can never end.
Yeah, exactly.
And Donald Trump's just looking at him like, I thought it was coming to a legit, this guy's serious. What the fuck? It's all over his face.
The world is looking at him like that, so.
Yeah.
I think as well, people it's easy to just put him in the garb of like a comedic genius. Actually, correct me if I'm wrong, is his grandfather not the famous psychologist Baron Cohen as well?
I don't know.
I think he is. Yeah, so he there's always this side of him that is really interested in like sociology and understanding the psychology of why people believe what they believe and what makes us perform the way we do in society. And I think he uses it incredibly intelligently in his comedy stance on it all, but actually I think he really on a cerebral level is very interested in understanding humans and why we're so fucking stupid most of the time. So I can't wait to see who he questions in this and how. I would imagine, he could fill the entire film with Trump supporters, and I would find that hilarious. But yeah, I think this is gold. It's going to be gold regardless.
Shazam! Fury of the Gods gets a November 22nd release date. Zachary Levi talks up the sequel. How do we feel about Shazam 2, guys?
November 2022, you mean?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
I enjoyed Shazam. I thought it was one of the better DC movies. I liked him in the role. But am I excited about a sequel? Not particularly. I know it was coming. I'm more interested to see Black Adam and then what Shazam 2 does off of Black Adam, and whether we're going to see them in Black Adam in Shazam 2 or whether they're going to wait it out a little bit longer. But yeah, without really knowing too much about the story or where they're heading with it or the direction, there's not too much to say about it. But yeah, I think it'll be nice to see. I think the tone was what DC needed at the time to lighten it a little bit. But it didn't. It performed okay box office wise, but I'm wondering whether that was his star power as opposed to the movie, or whether just some people were frustrated with DC and just didn't give it the chance it probably deserved after Justice League. So there's probably a couple of different factors to it, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I did think they could have pushed it in other areas personally, but you know, I had to negate that after watching the initial trailers because I felt they played it a bit safe with the way they went with that character. But all in all, I felt it was pretty enjoyable. Had some cool cameos there, if you know the lore and stuff. Was a bit disappointed with the Superman cameo because I really wanted Cavill to show up, but they did what they did, and we'll see what they do with the sequel. I mean, like, I'm looking forward to it. So yeah,
I feel like Shazam was enjoyable, like you said, but somewhat forgettable. I don't honestly remember the majority of that film at all. My issue is that Zachary Levi or Levy, I've always wanted to see a Chuck film. That's what I want. Yeah, I love Chuck. It's probably one of my favorites of all time. And I honestly don't really care. Like, you guys from the podcast WhatsApp group, you will know that I'm not a massive fan of the DC universe as it currently stands. Very excited about the new Batman, Robert Pattinson in the role. I think will be amazing. But I'm not a fan of pretty much anything that DC have done in a very, very, very long time, particularly around the Justice League stories, essentially. And I don't really like Shazam. To me is like a standalone fun film, but I don't particularly care too much about it. I will probably go because I will always go to the cinema and I'll enjoy it, but I'm not too bothered. They need to make a Chuck film. That's where I stand.
I am very much with you on this. I will probably go and watch a Shazam 2, but I just don't really care that much, and I'm much more likely to go and watch a Chuck movie. So let's start with that. We'll start a petition now.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll get one.
There is an online petition. I've been on it for years. I don't know if it's gained any traction at all. But
Amazing.
Okay, and that's it for today. Yeah, Ken, where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Kenan Talks Film for all movie-related talk.
Cool. Amrita?
I'm only on Facebook under Amrita Sarah Collette, or you can find me on Instagram under Quirky Turquoise.
And Mel?
I am on both Twitter and Instagram at Melanie Crossey, and Facebook is just Melanie Crossey. It's just a lot of me ranting, so good luck with that.
Hey. Okay, and we're Zedos Gang, and we're out.
Go on, do it. Come on.
I am the man that killed Jamie Lannister.